We all think we know what leadership is, don't we? But what if that image that just popped into your head, the one of a powerful person at the top, is just completely outdated? In this explainer, we're going to tear down that old idea and build up a radical new way of thinking.
So let me ask you, when you hear that word, leadership, what's the very first image that comes to mind? For most of us, it's probably the same thing.
It's a person, right? A single figure at the top. We picture a specific individual, a CEO, a general, some kind of hero leader who sets the vision and calls the shots. I mean, that's the story we've been told for centuries.
But what if our obsession with that single person is the actual problem? The argument we're digging into here is that we know way too much about leaders, but we understand far, far too little about leadership. And the key? It's realizing those two ideas are not the same thing at all.
So where did this idea of focusing on just the leader even come from? Well, it's not some modern invention. Turns out its roots are buried deep in the 19th century, a product of the industrial age.
It really kicked off back in 1841 with Thomas Carlyle's great man theory. This idea that history is really just the story of a few heroic individuals. Then that got baked in even more with the notion that great leaders are just born that way, not made. And this kind of thinking pretty much dominated the entire 20th century, with almost all research zeroing in on the traits and styles of individual leaders.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's just old history, but this way of thinking is alive and kicking. You can find it in the best-selling books we all read and in the language we use every single day.
Take a look at the hugely popular book, Good to Great. The critique here is that its famous Level 5 leadership model, it isn't actually about the process of leadership at all. It's really just a description of the qualities of individual executives. And it's a very similar story with another popular author, John C. Maxwell. He often uses the words leader and leadership as if they mean the exact same thing. This confusion is everywhere, and it constantly reinforces that old idea that leadership is just the person in charge.
So when we all talk about a leadership crisis, what do we really mean? Well, the common view is that we have a leader crisis, that we just need better people at the top. But scholars like James McGregor Burns argue that the real problem is intellectual. We don't even have a clear definition of what leadership is in the first place.
Okay, so if that old leader-focused model is broken, what's the alternative? Well, the answer is a huge, fundamental shift in how we see things. We need to shift our focus from a person to a process, from an individual to a relationship. And this chart here breaks it down perfectly. The old industrial way of thinking is all about the individual leader, control, and authority. But this new post-industrial paradigm, it shifts the whole game to focus on the relationship, on collaboration, and on a mutual purpose. It's a completely different way of seeing the world.
The big breakthrough really started with political scientist James McGregor Burns. He basically argued that we've been looking in all the wrong places. Leadership isn't about what a leader says or does. It's about the dynamic relationship between people working together to get something done.
So Burns opened the door, and then another scholar, Joseph Rost, walked right through it, taking this idea of a relationship to its next logical and honestly pretty revolutionary conclusion.
Back in 1991, Rost proposed this definition. Now notice, it's all about a relationship, but it's still using that traditional language we all know, leaders and followers. But then, just 6 years later, he makes this one tiny but absolutely critical change. He swaps out the passive word followers for the active word collaborators. And this wasn't just changing a word, it was a profound statement. It means the people involved aren't just taking orders, they are actively doing leadership. And this is what it all leads to, the final, and you can say pretty radical step. Look closely at this definition. What's missing? The word leader is gone, completely. In this view, leadership is a relationship purely among collaborators. So how on earth do we get there? The logic is actually surprisingly simple. Step 1, you realize that followers aren't passive, they're actively participating. Okay, so that means they're really collaborators. And if everyone is actively collaborating toward the same goal, well then who is leading and who is following? The distinction just dissolves. It becomes irrelevant. In this new model, there are only collaborators. Now, I know this might seem like we're just playing with words, like some kind of academic game, right? But redefining leadership this way has huge real-world implications. It literally changes everything about how we approach working together to make things happen.
This right here is the new bottom line. It's such a simple but incredibly powerful idea. Leadership isn't a title you hold or a position someone gives you. It's the simple act of collaborating effectively.
So what does thinking this way actually unlock for us? Well, for one, it frees us from that old rigid box of leaders and followers. It shifts our focus to shared goals and mutual influence, not top-down commands. It elevates everyone's role. It means that on any team, in any movement, on any project, leadership is a collective process that anyone can and should participate in. It's not some magical quality only a few people possess.
The philosopher Schopenhauer once said that the real task isn't to see what no one has seen, but to think what no one has thought about what everyone sees. And leadership is something we all see, every single day. The real challenge then isn't to go out and find better leaders. It's to fundamentally rethink what it is we're looking at. And when we do that, we stop looking for a single hero, and we start seeing the potential for leadership in everyone.